You know, lately I've been thinking that I need to get back, you know? I need to get back in the groove of things. Wait a minute. Get back? I need to get back to the past. Yeah. To play some shitty games that... Oh, no, wait, I can't. I think that's somebody else. Back to the past, though. Where have I heard that before? Gotta get back to the past. Samurai Jack. Yeah, I remember that show. Yeah. You know, I've actually been kind of thinking. Do y'all remember the Samurai Jack comic book series? Back in the early 2000s, Cartoon Network partnered with DC Comics to begin production on 2 comic book series lines, one titled Cartoon Network Block Party and the other titled Cartoon Network Action Pack. Each issue of both series contained stories from multiple different Cartoon Network shows that changed from chapter to chapter. Cartoon Network Block Party focused mainly on the comedic shows, such as Ed, Edd n Eddy and Johnny Bravo, while Cartoon Network Action Pack had all action-oriented shows, such as Megas XLR and Ben 10. Though some shows would cross over between the 2 comics, such as Powerpuff Girls and Codename Kids Next Door. Today, however, we'll be focusing entirely on the chapters that contained Samurai Jack content, and luckily, they recently compiled all of the Samurai Jack stories into 2 graphic novels. Well, I guess since I'm going back to the past, y'all can go back to the past with me. Let's check them out. The first few chapters of this book are actually the same as the premiere movie, or the first 3 episodes of the original TV show. There's a small couple of differences here and there, like a couple of facial expressions are slightly different, and while dialogue, the same as the show, are actually stated by some different characters. Again, just small places here and there throughout the chapters, but it's mostly still the same. Our second chapter shows us our first brand new story, one of the few lost episodes, Double Dutch Death Valley. Jack is informed of a portal in the center of the desert that will take him back in time. On his long day in the desert, he finds a group of small children singing nursery rhymes, and all of a sudden demons come out from them and begin to attack Jack. Jack attempts to destroy the ropes that are coming out of them, but if he does, it'll destroy the whole portal. Aku actually tells Jack that if he leaves, he will bury the children in the sands of time. Jack ends up tossing Aku into the portal, therefore the portal getting destroyed, and Aku merely saying that he will come back again. Mini Mart Minions. After saving a group of rams from the bunnies of Aku, Jack moves on and passes a mountain mini-mart. Getting hungry, he steps inside, as it seems the next stop won't be for another 2,000 miles, which, walking on foot, will probably be a couple weeks, if not a couple months, to get to the next stop. Jack attempts to buy some products, such as jerky, a toothbrush, dried fruit, to name a few, as he's attacked by the people in the store. Aku appears and attempts to eat Jack, but he slices free from his stomach, and Aku flees the scene. Scott's free range. It begins with Scotsman fighting Jack. Jack actually gets frustrated enough with the Scotsman after a while of trying to not hurt him, he actually attempts to kill the Scotsman, but is surprised to find out that it's actually been a robot the whole time. Jack finds the farm where Scotsman is being held and tortured by sheep employees of Aku. Jack frees Scotsman and the 2 defeat all of the Scotsman robots, flee the farm as Scotsman asks Jack for a pint. Calling all creatures. A group of sirens ask Jack to save them from a horrible monster. However, the monster actually turns out to be the good guy in the situation, and the sirens merely have it under their sick mind control. Jack ends up saving the monster because as he tries to attack him, he notices that his sword that will not strike down good and can only strike down evil won't work. Jack ends up saving the monster, capturing the sirens, and actually cutting off their hair, which therefore makes them more unattractive, I guess? Crack of Doom. Jack meets a comedy goat named Mike, and quickly they're ambushed by a robot. While Jack is fighting the robot,
Mike attempts to continue to make his jokes at an attempt to make Jack laugh, whether or not the situation really is asking for that or not. Jack notices the robot getting stronger and himself getting weaker. Every step he makes on the cracks on the ground takes his energy away and gives it to the robot. Jack finally knows what to do, dodges the cracks, and he destroys the robot. And then finally, Mike is able to make a joke that actually gets Jack to crack a smile. Hit or myth? Jack finds himself in HOV Port City. A security bot who's been looking for Jack actually manages to find him, and the two begin to have a bit of a duel. After defeating him, and nobody else seems to know what Jack looks like, he's able to quickly flee the scene and make his way out of the city. Father's Day. Jack fights a robot of Aku as a village boy watches. The boy pretends to be a samurai as he's inspired by the way that Jack quickly took out that robot. That robot, however, is actually still alive, and the robot thinks of the boy as a threat. The boy's father goes to shelter him from the blast, but Jack saves both the father and the young farmer as he kills the robot. Jack puts inspiration in both the father and the boy as he continues to say that the boy has the heart of a samurai despite being a mere farmer. The San Francisco threat. Jack follows a group of birds that lead him to a portal. Jack is ambushed by a group of hippies and he gets kidnapped. One of the birds saves Jack, and he gets the surprise on the hippies and just beats him up. The birds manage to show him the portal again, but the hippies of course come back. Jack has to, of course, sacrifice the portal in order to defeat the hippies. Charmed to meet me. Jack finds himself in a village where all of the women have been stolen by a man named Mo. He has a medallion that has the ability to mind control people. He ends up actually managing to control Jack and beats him up until he actually tells Jack to grab his own sword, stab himself, which therefore would kill him. Before Jack strikes, he actually pretends to miss and makes the sword go under his arm. Jack manages to grab the medallion in his moment of weakness and breaks the medallion, breaking his spell on both Jack and all of the women, and he gets defeated. Peace, love, and eggs. A rock band group has been stealing eggs for some reason that's not really explained too well in the chapter from a farm. Jack ambushes them and they use the power that Aku gave them to strike back. Aku is about to beat Jack in this big vortex that's created, but apparently we have a kumbaya going on, and this group of hippies just decide to start singing, and Aku doesn't like it, and Aku goes away, and that's the end of the chapter. Please don't feed the monsters. A group misinforms Jack that some animals are locked up and deserve to be freed. Of course, Jack, being the naive guy that he is, he frees the animals and is later informed by this same group that they lied and that the animals will actually wreak havoc on the entire city, and then they turn to fight Jack. Not only does Jack happen to defeat this group of liars, but he's able to go and defeat the monsters before they do any detrimental damage to the city. Checklist. A robotic duo is attempting to attack Jack with a list of weapons that they have yet to try. They continue to go down their list, attack after attack, until eventually Jack manages to outsmart them and beat them. Cool Hand Jack. Scotsman is captured and sends a pigeon to ask Jack for help. Meanwhile, Jack is fighting a group of mysterious robots. Once informed by the pigeon, Jack kills the robots and leaves to go find the Scotsman. The people who captured Scotsman end up shackling Jack and Scotsman together at the feet, and he makes them work. Interestingly enough, the man who captured them is actually very reminiscent, if not the same character as the one from the show, and the way that they are shackled together is also very reminiscent to a very similar episode from the show. Jack and Scotsman fight back and go to talk to the judge that apparently was the reason why Scotsman was locked up to begin with. The judge is actually revealed to be Aku himself, and Jack and Scotsman team up and beat him. On to Samurai Jack Classics Volume 2, Acropolis Now. Jack attends a fine dining restaurant and decides to sneak into the kitchen to find gods are serving the food, and Aku is their business partner. The gods believe in themselves again and fight back against Aku and lock him inside a bottle. The Zen of Hiccups. Jack finds himself in a cornfield where he is jumped by a scarecrow. After beating him, Jack fights foe after foe as it appears that Jack has the hiccups. Believing that this must be from Aku, Jack travels to the top of the highest mountain and exhales everything in his lungs to find Aku was actually inside of him. But being up so high caused Aku to become frozen solid, and Jack slices him to pieces. Mosaic. Jack is eating some soup when he is attacked by his robot server. The robot is revealed to be named Mosaic and is a combination of 4 robots who have previously fought against Jack. However, Jack is able to blindside Mosaic and wins the fight. One careful owner. A shop owner is about to be robbed by a minion of Aku, but Jack steps in to save the shopkeeper. In return for his good deed, Jack is rewarded with an amulet said to bring good luck, and was only previously owned by one careful owner. But it appears that the amulet is actually a tracking device, and Jack is hunted by Aku's minions. After throwing out the amulet, he traps the bad guys in an elevator and escapes. Aku's Fairy Tales, Aku the Hero. Very similarly to an episode of the show, Aku tells the children of a story of a young Aku, who in this story is fighting a samurai for justice, but is the slave to an evil Jack. After being sent on a mission to find a flower that grants the finder a wish, Aku wishes to no longer be a slave. The kids decide to give Aku a flower, and Aku flees, and the kids know that Jack is actually the true hero. Aku's Fairy Tales, Sleeping Beauty. A parody of Sleeping Beauty, as well as some other fairy tales, Jack finds himself on a quest to find the princess. He awakes her and pushes her into a broom closet where she's never to be seen again. Once again, the kids are not against Jack, and Aku flees, swearing to turn them against him. Samurai Mack. 2 men in the middle of what looks like to be the Antarctic find Jack passed out and decide to take him inside, out from the cold. As Jack awakens, he finds that he was brought in by a robot made to look just like him, named Mack. Jack goes out to train with him and says that Mack is not worthy of the name Samurai. Afterwards, they're assaulted by a group of bikers. Jack is about to get blasted, but Mack jumps in the way, sacrificing himself to save Jack. Mack is dead, but Jack finally says that he's worthy of the name Samurai. Aku's Fairy Tales, Jack and the Beanstalk, and Rex. Aku tells the children of a Jack that is now the most brainless and laziest man in the kingdom. Jack was entrusted with making sure the kingdom remained standing overnight, but actually sold the kingdom just for 5 magic beans. The people chase Jack out of town, and Jack decides to swallow the seeds as he doesn't have any time to plant them. He only managed to swallow 4 of them, however, and the people of the town plant the final seed, causing a beanstalk to erupt from the ground. They call up to it and ask for help, and down comes Rex, a giant Tyrannosaurus Rex. They fought and Jack came out the victor, but at the destruction of the town, to which Jack calls it a dump. Jack leaves, and Rex eats all of the people in town before going back up the beanstalk. Aku wonders why the kids are not impressed by his story, and they continue to support Samurai Jack. Waiting for the cavalry. A young boy is explaining his story of how Aku came to make an example of them and their village. They hide in a bunker for shelter as Samurai Jack comes to the rescue and defeats Aku's robots. The young boy says he will grow up to be just like the samurai, and it helps that his name is Jack too. Fishing with Jack. A village catman asks Jack to defeat a sea monster. Jack sets out to sea and comes across a giant shellfish. It tricks Jack into relaxing and almost falling asleep until it is revealed that the shellfish is none other than Aku. Jack of course ends up defeating Aku, and he swears he'll be back. Aku's Fairy Tales, The Samurai Who Cried Wolf. The kids are playing with shadows on a wall when Aku says that reminds him of a story. There's a military outpost that has not seen action in a long time. Inside, the people are partying, while outside, Jack is left alone to be on guard. After so long, it made Jack very bitter and unhappy. The next few days, Jack played tricks on the soldiers, calling for help when it was really alive, just like the original story of The Boy Who Cried Wolf. But Jack finally calls for help for real this time, as a giant mechanical wolf has come to terrorize the outpost. They don't believe him, and the wolf destroys the outpost and its men until only Jack remained.
However, Jack ends up taking the wolf on as a pet. The kids say that Aku is the real wolf in sheep's clothing, and Aku swears to make them believe his stories about Jack. Jack and Jill. Jack helped save the town of Happiness, which apparently only has a population of 127 civilians. Jack leaves the town, recognizing he himself does not have happiness. It is then that Jack is jumped by some robots that he had fought previously, but Jack is aided by a woman named Jill. They spend apparently a long time together, as it's said that seasons have changed, and they grew a bond. It seemed that Jack was falling in love with Jill, enough to say that it made him want to even stay there in the future. However, it is revealed that Jill was none other than Aku, to prove that Jack will always be alone. The Tunnel of Stone. Jack is wandering in a desert when he finds stones that appear to be warrior men. He finds a tunnel and goes inside. A woman named Grace is in there and tells him to leave and beware. It is then they are attacked by a group of stone warriors. Jack tells her to flee as he attempts to hold them off. Grace tells him she sees a light, and Jack grabs her as they escape together. It is revealed that Grace is the spirit and living embodiment of the Tunnel of Stone, and many warriors have gone in there and were given a choice to save her or save themselves. Every warrior prior to Jack has chose the selfish decision and returned to stone as a result. She tells Jack he's free to go, as she herself turns to stone, bound for home. Jack finds himself in the home of an author named Mack. He tells Jack that in one of his books is the secret for him to go home. However, his home is intruded by Aku himself. Aku holds the man by his beard. Jack attempts to save him by cutting off his beard, but it's revealed that is the old man's source of his magic. The beard is found by a group of cats that become evil due to Aku's dust and use the beard for their own power. The old man uses a magic vacuum to suck the magic dust out from the cats, and Aku gets sucked in as well. Jack slices the vacuum in half, and Aku says that he will return in a more powerful form. Aku's fairy tales capturing Medusa. The same two kids are dueling with wooden swords as Aku attempts to tell a story of the worst duelist in the world, Jack. He would challenge people to duels, most notably his arch-rival, Percy, in attempts to gain praise and impress women, but he lost every time. Jack gets the idea to try to capture Medusa, who currently has a bounty on her head, in order to salvage his reputation. Jack enters Medusa's lair and finds his prior duel mates frozen in stone, and has come to realize that he has no chance. So, Jack decides to flip the script and gives Medusa a flower, in which she is flattered by and accepts. Jack and Medusa end up becoming something of an item, and Jack uses her to win all of his duels by having her turn his opponents to stone. The kids interrupt Aku's story and show him his mirror reflection, and Aku scares himself as he sees himself as a creature, like Medusa. The portal. We see Jack was given a map that will lead him to a portal that will send him back to his own time. The only problem is that he was given this map and instructions based on how the land was 1,000 years ago, and things have changed very much. As Jack is heading towards where he was told the portal was, a young boy is about to get hit by a car, a la Yu Yu Hakusho, and Jack jumps to his rescue. As Jack continues, he finds more distractions, such as a woman in a pool who can't swim, and a man who attempts to have a dance-off, and a girl whose cat is stuck in a tree. Unfortunately, after doing that final deed, the portal is now closed. It turns out that Aku was every single person who asked for help, and Aku was somehow even the old man who told Jack about this place to begin with. Jack leaves defeated as Aku mocks him. No refund. Jack finds himself at a weapons shop, and the shop owner tells him before he makes a purchase that there are no refunds. Jack shows the owner all of the items that he bought from him and how none of them worked how they should have. He still declines Jack a refund, but then they are attacked by a group of robot pirates. The group of pirates decide to save on ammo by using the weapons they found in the shop. The weapons, of course, don't work as they're supposed to, and the pirates are defeated. The shop owner asks Jack if there's anything he can do to repay him for saving his life and his shop. Jack politely asks for a refund, to which the shop owner still says no. The advent of modern technology. Jack finds himself in a new city and tries to order some food. But it's been over 30 minutes and Jack still hasn't gotten his food yet. He goes back to the kitchen to ask where his food is, and is given food he didn't order by the cook who's on his phone. Jack finds a reckless car driver now that is a danger to pedestrians and decides to try to stop him, only to find the driver is also on their phone. Jack is alerted by a scream as someone has stolen an old woman's purse. Jack jumps to the rescue and finds the thief is nothing more than a hologram created by somebody else. Jack returns the purse to the old woman who's talking on the phone about what happened and that she can't believe what this town is coming to. And Jack agrees. Jack gets aggravated by the use of phones by everyone in the city and decides to go to the headquarters of the company. It turns out that the head of the company is none other than Aku himself. Jack slices the computer that keeps all the phones working and is able to return the city to having normal human interaction. Aku's Fairy Tales. Cinderella, a shoe story. Aku impresses the two kids, Maya and David, with his sparkly new shoes as he begins to tell them a tale of Cinderella, or for short, she is also called Sandals. Sandals had two stepsisters, Jackastasia and Scotsella, who both wore diamond-encrusted platform shoes. The two stepsisters mock Sandals for her sandals as they receive an invitation to Prince Regent's ball, who is in search for a wife. It's revealed that Sandals' sandals are alive and can talk to her as they go and tell her to go to the ball and sweep the prince off his feet. However, Sandals fears the worst as she's dressed in rags and thinks nobody will think highly of her. It is at that moment that fairy godmother Aku appears and gives Sandals a new dress and turns her sandals into glass slippers. Aku then goes to their metal shed outside and uses his magic to make a carriage that will bring Sandals to the ball. She danced with the prince all night long until the clock struck midnight and she flees the ball as her clothes slowly turn back into rags. The prince vows to find Cinderella by seeing who fits the sandals. As the story goes, the prince of course finds the fit to be a match when he finds Cinderella, and the two get married as the stepsisters cry in their handkerchiefs for an oddly specific 20 days. Aku takes off his sparkly shoes as they begin to hurt his feet, and we see Aku wears socks, apparently, and his feet don't smell very good, and it causes him to run away. Like father. Jack is on the brink of defeat by a new robotic foe that has Jack on the edge, and he begins to question why he continues this quest. Jack flashes back to a time before Aku, when he was a young boy. Jack is at school as he plays with his friends and attempts to impress a girl named Anna by taking an apple from the Tree of Wisdom. After successfully getting the apple, two older boys take the apple away from him. Jack goes home feeling defeated, but his father gives him words of encouragement and tells him to never forget that he makes him proud. Jack defeats the robot as he says that he remembers why he goes on: to make his father proud. Parts of a whole. Jack is surrounded by an army of people as we flash back to 6 hours earlier, where only 3 of these army members are attacking just one person. Jack jumps in to save the man and decides to follow him back to his village so that he can ensure that no more harm will come to him. It turns out that he's a part of a tribe called the Plunkers, and the other tribe is called the Zappos. Both of their tribes are suffering as their members are starving and dying, and their land is not farmable. He tells Jack that a wise older man told them that the Zappos are depleting the few resources that they have left, and that wiping them out is their only chance for survival. To try to figure out what's going on, Jack invades the Zappos village, where he hears the same wise man telling the Zappos a similar story, but about the Plunkers. Jack confronts him, and it is revealed to be Aku trying to set a war between the two tribes. We flash back to where we were when the story started, and Jack decides to call the war to a halt, and asks both sides if they can come up with any other solution. 2 of the warriors attempt to fight each other anyway, but end up destroying the ground below them, revealing a bunch of water. 6 months pass, and the 2 tribes are working together in harmony as they have tons of farmable food. The Tower of Aku. Jack vows to destroy the Tower of Aku, and begins his invasion as he attacks a group of guards outside. Jack is confronted, however, by a group of townspeople, telling him that he cannot destroy the tower. Jack responds confused, as with all the tower represents with Aku, they should rejoice in its destruction. The townspeople ask Jack to turn around and look again, as the sun rises and shows the tower as something different.
When the sun occupies a certain height in the sky, the tower is no longer symbolic of conquest and servitude under an evil tyrant, but of a town's secret act of defiance. And so, Jack went on his way. Aku's Fairy Tales, Jack and His Shadow. Maya and David are comparing shadows as Aku tells them a tale of the most devious shadow ever cast. Once upon a time, there were 4 princes: Harry, William, Simon, and Jack, but no king. The 4 competed against one another to win the crown of king. Jack had been losing every part of the competition, until his shadow separated from him. The shadow helped Jack cheat in the competition, and so Jack was crowned the king. The shadow was shunned by Jack during the coronation, and it felt disrespected, so it decided to get revenge on Jack by growing in size and stealing the crown. Aku sees the children having fun in the sun and flees due to the heat. Aku's Fairy Tales, Thumbling Jack. Maya and David argue about who's taller, as Aku tells them a tale of a Jack that is no bigger than a thumb. Jack lived in the only place he could, a dollhouse. This drove him crazy, so he decided to begin going to public libraries and ripping out the last page in multiple books so that the readers would not know the endings. Jack wanted to live in a toy castle, but his poor father did not have enough money to purchase one. Jack gets the idea to ask the help of robbers to rob a bank. Jack sneaks in as the robbers create a diversion and steals the money for himself, and even calls the police on the robbers so that they won't have a cut of his money. However, Jack is caught by the police and is taken to prison, where he says he will have his revenge. The kids ask if Aku can make himself that size, and so he does just that, as the kids mock him and say that now he is the most evil thumb-sized person. Smoke. In a completely textless chapter, Jack decides to go to sleep next to a mysterious statue. Jack is about to be attacked by a group of plant monsters until a huff of smoke comes out from Jack and creates a Jack-like smoke spirit, and that spirit fights off all the monsters, and Jack awakes none the wiser. Gift of the Samurai. In the shortest comic so far, on only 2 pages, which is also textless, a mysterious gift comes down and its wrapping begins to attack Jack. However, it appears to be a harmless gift for a boy in this village from his mother, as the comic wishes a happy holidays. Fortune. Aku enlists the aid of a man named Zolar, who uses a deck of tarot cards in an attempt to rid Jack of a future. Zolar brings many tarot fortunes to life, as Jack seems to defeat them all, until he pulls out the card of death, which Jack swipes out of his hand, and the card is used against Zolar himself. A child picks up the card and reads Death, and wonders why Zolar didn't die. Zolar explains that death in the tarot cards represents change, and Zolar has changed for good. Enemy Mime. Jack finds himself in a weird town where people are either dead or trapped in visible tubes. The ones in the tubes attempt to warn Jack, but it is too late as Jack is confronted by a mime who traps him in the same tube. Jack, however, jumps straight up out of the tube and defeats the mime.
And with that, we have covered all of the Samurai Jack comics. All of them. Okay, so there was this, IDW comic series, but do y'all really want to know about this? No. This is going to take a lot more time. Plus, this is new, not really to the past. So, I don't think we're going to read this one. So, anyways, glad for watching. I'm going to go do something else now.